This shiur is dedicated to Ilu Nishmas Rachalea Bas Rchaim Tzvi. So in Daniel, as you remember from last week, we left Daniel in an unenviable situation. Here he is, in the palace of Nevuchadnetzar, removed from his family, subsisting on seeds, on raw vegetables, on whatever he can, groomed by Nevuchadnezzar's people to take his rightful place, quote unquote, as one of Nevuchadnezzar's aides in the future, so that all of his Jewish genius could be used to maintain the horror and the egocentric and almost maniacal force of Babylon. It's not an easy life. In the meantime, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. No one could interpret the dream of all of the wise men of Babel. So basically, this is where we've left off, and we're going to take off from there. So those of you with texts, we're in Perek Bet, Pasuk Yud Bet. Kol kabel dina malka banas v'katzav shagi v'yamar lehovada kol chakimei Babel. Okay, so after nobody could interpret the dream, what happens next? Okay, upon hearing their answer, the answer of the Chachamim who said that they couldn't interpret the dream, the king was full of great anger, and he said that he's going to cause them to perish. Okay, all of the wise men of Babel. So, of course, the question is asked, what did he think would happen? What was going on in his mind when he's planning to kill all of the wise men in Babel? So what was happening in his mind is that this was sure proof that they're not as wise as they thought, and not as wise as he thought. So to take this further, he believed that God has communications with people. And what he also believed was that the gods with a small g, were separate forms, and that the dream that he had demonstrated this, that there was unity and separateness. And his wise men were in a completely different direction. They had no idea of what the dream was. So what good are they to them? They only understand things of this world. V'data nefkat v'chakimayim mitkatlim. So the law went forth that the wise men and the wise men were killed. Uvo Daniel v'chavarohi litkatala. And it was going to be that Daniel and his friends would be killed. V'dayin Daniel Hativ eta v'te'em la'avayach bata v'chaya di malka. So at that time, Daniel replied with advice and brought it to the executioner, whose name was Arayach, the king's executioner, the one who was in charge of the murder of the wise men of Babel. He answered and said to Arayach, Shaleti di Malka, who was the one who controlled things of the king, what sort of decree of chutzpah is this from the king? And that the king is so angry. This is what he told to Daniel. He told those words to Daniel. Let's talk about the nature of chutzpah. I would say that it took a lot of chutzpah for somebody in Daniel's position to refer to Nevuchadnetzar as having chutzpah. It's one of his loyal servants. So, the question is, what's chutzpah? Let's define it. So chutzpah is something that's not in its place. So for instance, if I were to buy a tin policeman's badge and go into somebody's house and claim to be the law and search through their drawers just out of my own personal interest, gosh, what do other people keep in their living room drawers? Okay, that's a chutzpah because it's not my place. So the word chutzpah is very much opposite to the word tznius. And in fact, this is how it's used in Mishlei. Okay, they're presented as one thing opposite to the other. Tznius has to do with having such a deep sense of internality that you are your place. Chutzpah is when you're not in your place. So because of this, the symbol of chutzpah traditionally is a dog. It says that the face of the Messianic era's generation will be like the face of the dog, so with such great chutzpah. What's the chutzpah of a dog? The chutzpah of a dog is that it acts like it's a family member or a person, but it's really a dog. When it walks in the street with its master, it leads its master. It's out of place. So what Daniel is saying is that the murder of wise men is out of place for a king such as Nevuchadnetzar, and he demands to know what's causing this great rage. Daniel, min malka dizman yinatek le, ufrishlach avei malka. So Daniel went in and requested before the king that he should give him time in order to be able to speak out what he has to say. Okay, so he offered the king dream interpretation. He said that he needs some time and he'll be able to interpret the dream. Daniel then went to his house. Azal, he went.